I love that mug there. What do you have?
Oh, I have a mug from Cancun, Mexico, because I love going to all-inclusive resorts, and I went one with my best friend a few years ago, and we just had this wonderful time. So this is a good souvenir from there with an angelfish on it. I love it.
I love the color. It's so bright and happy.
It's so Caribbean. Caribbean blue. And I saw earlier that you are wearing a travel-themed t-shirt today.
Yes, I do. It's got dolphins on it, and it's from the Maldives. It's hand-painted by a local artist
wow.
there. Yeah.
The Maldives, I know nothing about the Maldives, so please do tell.
So the Maldives is a country that's made up of a bunch of different islands, and these islands are kind of in circles, almost like half circles, and they're called atolls. And there's like, I forget how many, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 different atolls that make up the island. So it's literally these little, that make up the country. It's like these little tiny islands. And it's south of Sri Lanka and India.
Okay. So in the South Pacific, I'm guessing there. Okay, and how did you get over there? What for?
Oh, well, my parents were celebrating their 25th anniversary, and they brought my sister and I along because we're the best part of their marriage, they say.
That's sweet. That's so sweet. Wow, that's a great way to celebrate a 25th wedding anniversary. Do it in style.
Yeah, it was a really, really good trip, and they had gone to Bora Bora for their honeymoon, and so it had like similar vibes. In fact, of like little houses on the water, surrounded by sea creatures and everything. So it was very, very nice.
Wonderful. So listeners, as you can tell, today we're talking about travel. That's our theme. We're going along with our theme from the last episodes. And we're going to be talking about modes of transportation when you're traveling. We even created a great YouTube video about modes of transportation.
Yes, but where can we find that video, Sarah? Like, it's on YouTube, but do we have the link somewhere?
Yeah, the link is down in the show notes. Enjoy, and don't forget to keep your ears attentive to our 3 vocabulary words from today that are travel themed, okay? So the first one is conveyor belt. Chit chat is number 2. And number 3, hail a taxi. So yeah, you can also see some of those words in those that video that's on YouTube. So jot them down as we go along. Conveyor belt, chit chat, and hail a taxi.
Okay. Well, Sarah, do you have 20 minutes on the clock?
I sure do.
All right. Your 20 minutes starts now.
So, Erin, as the world traveler that you are, what kinds of modes of transportation have you taken in your life?
Oh, lots of different ones. Plane, of course. Boat, although not cruise. I haven't gone on a cruise yet.
No, me neither.
No.
Cars, I guess.
Ferries, yeah. Trains.
Are you more a Uber girl or a taxi girl? Or Lyft or whatever?
Yeah, I do like the ease that comes with Uber. You don't have to, call one down. You don't have to hail a taxi. You don't have to find one. You already know what the price is going to be when you click on it. I really like that one because sometimes you have to haggle with people. But actually recently in Colombia, we found out that Uber is banned. Like, Uber is illegal in Colombia. People still use it, though. But on the back of taxis, you'll see like this whole spiel that they'll write, like, I don't use an illegal service, blah, blah, blah. Like, we need to stick together as taxi people. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, you can see the different stuff.
Yeah, I guess political. I know the unions here weren't too thrilled here in Canada.
Yeah.
No, about Ubers coming. No. So I understand. So like today we're going to be focusing a lot on flying and like checking in at the airport because a lot of those skills are transferable. Like when you're taking a train, a ferry, or hailing a taxi. A lot of these things come in handy no matter what. So we're going to be focusing on taking a flight. So what do we need to know for taking a flight, Erin?
Yes. So the first step when you arrive at the airport is going to the check-in counter, right? So you can go to the little kiosks where you kind of enter in the information yourself. It's like self-serve, or you go to the counter where you can talk with a person, right? So either way, you can decide which one you want to go, but make sure that you have your passport and you have your luggage when you go to do that check-in. And if you talk to a person, like the most common question that they'll ask you is, well, first of all, can I have your passport, right? Or how many bags do you have to check, right? So you could just say, oh, just one, or these two here.
Yeah, nothing. You don't have to be too complicated about it.
No.
And make sure you check that your carry-on is the right size that will fit under your seat or in the overhead bin. So once you get through that first check-in counter, what's next? So for me, that's usually next anyway, is the security checkpoint. So what are some common questions that they ask you there?
Yeah, most of the time it's not really questions, it's just kind of instructions, like remove your electronic devices from your carry-on, or remove your toiletries if you've got like small toiletries and you need to take them out.
Or they'll just throw them out if they're not the right size.
Yes, or they'll just toss them away, or tell you drink your water, you know.
Man. Yeah, drink it quick.
Take off your shoes, take off your belt, put them in the trays.
The $3 water I just bought 2 seconds ago. That one.
Down it now. They might also like tell you directions, like step into the x-ray or step into the machine here, put your feet here, lift up your arms, like when it spins around.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Put your trays on the conveyor belt, take your things off the conveyor belt, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And sometimes when it goes to the x-ray machine, they see things that might be fishy and they'll take you aside and ask you some questions. So like recently we were on a trip, my husband and I, and my husband bought protein shake powder and he put it in little baggies.
Oh no.
in his carry-on. So of course on the x-ray machine it sure looks like cocaine. So it has to like drug tested. my husband, the mule. Oh, it was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
It's just protein powder.
When my family and I were traveling through Dubai, like we had a connection there, and we had to take our stuff out, go through security again, and we realized that what they do, because this happened to my mom, she got like the wee when she went through the system, and they had to kind of like pass that baton thing over to check her. But in Dubai, because modesty is important, they brought my mom into like this little hut that closed the curtain, like while they kind of do that process. But it's kind of nerve-wracking when you're the one that has to go into the hut with like this random person that you don't know, and you're like, and they don't speak your language and all of that stuff. So, but at the end of the day, it was to like protect your modesty, right? So it's kind of interesting. You're not on display for everybody to kind of see you and your problems.
Okay, so let's say that you hopefully make it through the checkpoint. And then you go to your gate, so you can find your gate on your boarding pass. You just follow the signs there. It can be tricky, but you can always ask your way, like, where is gate 6? And on the way there, I often like to stop, grab a coffee, a snack, a bottle of water, you know? So I might be sitting there for a while.
Yeah, I always like to find my gate first, even if I know I have time before I go. Before I explore any other part of the airport, I always find my gate, check on the screen, make sure we're on time, make sure we're good, and then I can go out and explore. So at least I know how far it takes me to get there, or how long it takes me to get there. Yeah, and then I most of the time, though, after I explore, I just sit and I read.
Yeah. Did you read anything great on your last trip?
Yes, I actually was reading the books that I was talking about last time, the
Hmm.
Ollie Richards
Oh, yeah.
Spanish books. So it was great because I was hearing Spanish and reading Spanish at the same time. So I always find that it's easiest when you're in that kind of environment.
Yeah. So you were talking about earlier, like those screens, like you have to go check, make sure everything's on time. Maybe it'll be late. Maybe it'll be a little bit early. That's rare, but it can happen. And I remember like once I was in the Frankfurt airport, like years ago, I think it was like 2001-ish, and I was in the Frankfurt airport, and it was like changing. It was like tick 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 as they rolled over, like the old timey sound, and the like as this for the city and the time it was coming in, and the if it was on time or not. It was so cool.
Okay, yes, I know. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
They actually have one on display in the Pan Am terminal of the JFK, JFK airport in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they actually have this whole terminal that's like an old Pan Am terminal, which is an old airline that was like cross-continental airline that came up back then. And it's really cool. They have like stewardess fashion through the ages. They have old artifacts, they have an old plane that they've converted into a bar.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And so we went there when we had a long layover at the JFK airport. So if you have a layover, or if you just want to like check out old planes and you're interested in kind of that part of history, I really recommend going there and checking it out. It's really
cool. All airports should have like a museum or something fun to do other than sit and read and eat.
I know, yeah.
Give us an experience that we'll remember. Oh, it's very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll remember that next time in JFK. So, okay, so now you've made it through security, you made it to the gate, they've called your seat number, you showed them again your passport and your boarding pass, and you made it inside the planes. What's next, Erin?
Yes, so you're in the plane, you're all strapped up. So make sure that you listen to the safety security spiel, right? I know I've heard it about a million times, but I always think, do I know it enough that if some accident happened, would I be able to know what I have to do, right?
Where are those exits? How far am I from those exits? But I try to do it very subtly without anyone knowing that I'm like checking out where the closest way to get out of this plane is.
I always think through what would I do if this happened? Yeah.
Yeah. So I watch Mayday a little bit too much.
But once you're up in the air, then the flight attendants might ask you some questions at that point.
Yeah. Like, what do you want to drink? Would you like some peanuts or pretzels? Because it's about all they give us anymore. And it's only if we're lucky.
Yeah, it's true. On like the international flights, it's always better because they give you meals. But yeah, when you're just flying, some of them can be long too, like a 6-hour flight to California or whatever, and they don't give you anything. So
no, good luck.
Anyway, but you could always ask them, can I have a blanket? Or do you have extra earphones? You'll probably need to pay for those things, but at least you can be comfortable when you're on your plane.
Yeah, or a pillow. Like, I don't think they charge you for the pillow or the blanket, but maybe for the earphones.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of sit there, enjoy the flight, a little chit-chat with your fellow travelers. You can talk to them about family, their work, that's about it. Or you can just bury your nose in that novel so they know not to talk to you.
Yeah, or put your headphones in.
It's a great way of getting out of the chit-chat. But sometimes I'm in a chit-chatty mood and sometimes I'm not. So it depends.
And it's a great way if you want to practice speaking another language, right? If you're an English learner and you sit down next to a native English speaker, then getting that opportunity, you kind of have a captive audience at that point. They can't go anywhere.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Okay, so you're on the ground now. You made made it through your flight. Everything went fine. You didn't have to use those exit doors. What's next?
So you'll probably have to go through customs if you're flying into a different country.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have to show the agent the passport, your boarding pass. If you need a visa to get in, then they'll ask you for that as well. And they'll ask you questions. Where are you going? Where are you staying? What's the purpose of your trip? Do you have anything to declare? So understanding those questions is the first part of making sure that you answer those questions correctly, right? If you don't know what they're asking, then you can't answer properly. So don't be afraid to say, can you repeat that again? Can you say that once more? I didn't understand, something like that.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know the exact address of where we're going, but like it's good before you get on that plane to like look it up so you have answers to these questions.
Exactly.
I remember like being like, I'm going to the person's house who's picking me up from the airport. Like I did not know where they live.
Yeah.
So that's not really what they're looking for.
That's a good point. Yeah, is to try and figure out that information ahead of time. Think through what you're carrying. Do you have anything valuable? Do you have anything that you need to bring to their counter? Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on the airport, like here in Quebec City and many other airports I've been to recently, you just fill all that information out on the screen and you present it to the agent if they want you to. Like they'll give you like a green check mark if you can just pass through that step, or like a red X if you need to actually go talk to them and explain your situation. Like
That's true.
For me, one of my identity cards was expired, so like last time I had to like go and explain my situation. They let me in, but
thank goodness.
Like,
you were trying to get into the States or into Canada?
Into Canada, because my permanent resident card was expired. So it wasn't expired. Someone had stolen the old one, my current one. Because they stole my wallet while I was in New York City, and then it was still in the process of coming to me. So like I just carried my old one, which is expired. But like technically, I was still like a permanent resident. Like I didn't lose my status.
You still had your valid status. Okay, yeah.
I just didn't have the valid card that went with my status. So like, of course, they're gonna flag me. Then you have to explain this whole thing. Like,
at least they have like history of you having that that status. At least they should.
Yeah, they did. It's just like an extra step added to the process you don't really want to have to do when you're getting off a plane.
Yes, exactly. And like arriving there and realizing that your baggage is gone and it's not on the arriving conveyor belt.
yeah. Did that ever happen to you?
Yes, that did happen to me actually, and it's connected to the flying story. That I don't know. Do you want me to tell it now, Sarah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, the very first time that I flew by myself was one of my worst flying experiences ever. I had flown a lot with my parents, but you know, when you're young, you just kind of go with the flow. You don't really know what you have to do, why you have to do it. You just do it because your parents say, do this, do that, you know. So I was 14, 15, I think, when I flew for the first time. Yeah. And I was going from Florida to Michigan, and I had a layover in Chicago in the O'Hare Airport. And the Chicago Airport is crazy. It's pretty insane and pretty big. And anyway, for a 15-year-old too, trying to figure that out.
No thanks.
My dad was able to bring me to the plane in Florida, like to the terminal. He was able to accompany me there. But the problem was that it was raining a lot that day. And so our first flight got delayed and I was stuck there. So then that meant that when I arrived in Chicago, I had already missed my second flight to Michigan.
No.
Yeah. So I get there, and instead of going to the person at that gate where we arrived, I go to the gate that I should have gone to.
Oh, no.
But that was a really good idea. It was actually good, because instead of having to wait in line to talk to the person at the gate, because everybody on that plane was missing their plane, right? I was able to get on the waiting list at the other gate and get into the next plane. So that was really good. It was a really good idea that I did that. Yeah, good mistake. But I was like running through the airport, like trying to get to that gate.
Wow.
And then I arrive in Michigan, and first of all, I had to go to a different city instead of the city I was supposed to go to.
No.
So they had to come and pick me up. I was going to camp, so one of the counselors had to come and pick me up. And they forgot to put my luggage on that plane. So I get there and it's gone. Of course, I call my dad. My dad's talking to this guy in India that's saying that the bag was scanned and all that stuff. And, you just have to go and talk to people and try to figure it out and have patience and realize that they're doing their best to try and figure out everything. But yeah, it was a crazy start to a 2-week camp.
No, because you don't have any clothes, you don't have toothpaste, you don't have anything.
I didn't have anything, and it was a camp that had a dress code.
No, it did not.
Yeah, it was a camp with a dress code, and so I wasn't supposed to be wearing flip-flops, but that was the only thing I had because that's what I was traveling in. And so all the counselors would stop me and say, "Why aren't you wearing your clothes? Why are you wearing flip-flops?" And I would say, "My bags got lost." They should have just given me a card or something to like show up and then like I have a special status or whatever.
T-shirt, like
it's good.
Oh my goodness.
It was the first time that I had gone to this camp, and when I arrived there, they had like a special service, and at the end everybody stands up and starts singing this song that I had never heard before, and like everybody knew it by heart, and I was like, what kind of camp did I get into? But anyway.
The dress code, no flip-flops at camp. What in the world did you get yourself into? I don't know. How is this fun? Was it fun?
Yeah, it was. It was actually one of the best camp experiences I've been to. It was a performing arts camp. So I was in orchestra and drama, and it was really fun, but it was just a terrible start because of the flight experience.
Very rough. Yeah, like my first flight, I was 18, but I'd only ever been on 2 planes before in my life. Like once I was 8, I went out to see my aunt in Minneapolis, and then once when I was 12, I went out there again. But that was it, and both times with my mom. Okay. Well, the first time was my mom, the second time was my grandparents. And then so when I was 18, I was flying down to Panama, and I started freaking out because like I was looking at my watch and it said that we should have landed already, and we're not landing, and I am freaking out. Like I'm in an window seat, so I'm looking at the moon and trying to like calm myself by singing to the moon, like for real. Like I just cannot handle like what is happening. Are we being hijacked? Are we lost? What is going on?
Are you worried because you had a connection in Panama?
No, not even. No, like I was like, the people are gonna pick me up. They're gonna like give up and leave. I'm gonna be stuck in Panama. And I'm like, why are we not landed already? What is going on? And like, it wasn't until we finally landed and I go and meet the people picking me up, and I was like, I'm sorry, we're like an hour late. He's like, I'm like so freaking out about it. He's like, you're not an hour late. Like, we have no daylight savings times here. Oops. I had no idea. Yeah. It's not like we had like smartphones and stuff like that automatically changed. It was like 1998, right?
Yeah.
Before
9/11 too. 9/11 changed a lot of flight-related things. September.
Yeah, and a lot of the things we talked about earlier about going through the security was really brought there.
Using your passports to travel. Yeah, all that stuff. My goodness.
Yeah. Changed a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of other different modes of transportation that we didn't really touch on too much. I know that once you get out of the airport, you kind of have to hail a taxi, get them to take you where you need to go, right? And that's a special word that we use for when you're getting on a taxi. If you're standing on the sidewalk in New York City, for example, and like you hold out your hand to try to get a cab, that's called hailing a taxi. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to look for one that the light is still on. That means that they have a spot for you. Like if the taxi light is off, it's full. Give up and call Uber.
Yeah.
Ah,
So,
you can
well,
also travel other ways, right, Erin?
yeah, there's cruises, there's ferries, there's camels, donkeys, whatever.
Camels, donkeys, horses. My favorite way
Yes.
to travel.
I've got good camel stories too, and I've
Oh,
got lots of good stories. But I think our time is coming up right now.
it really is. So you can check out those other ways in the YouTube video. Again,
Yep.
the link is in the show notes. And that's about does it, huh, Erin?
Yeah, exactly. That about does it. But just a reminder, did you hear our 3 words that we used today?
Oh
What
my
were our
word, you're
words
right.
again, Sarah?
Oh my goodness. So we had let me think here. Conveyor belt,
Yep, there you go.
chit chat,
Mm-hmm.
and hail a taxi.
Yes.
So listen again to this episode if you missed them, figure out what they mean based on the context, and jot them down into your vocabulary notebook.
Yes, and if you have a good travel story, please share it with us. We'd love to hear what you had to do, how you did it, or even successful travel stories of using this knowledge that we've passed on to travel around the world. So just put it in the comments below.
Yeah, so I guess it's time now to say goodbye, adios, au revoir from Quebec City.
Yes, and signing off from Montreal, paalam. Hi everyone! Looking for a great exercise to help you prepare for air travel? Check out our free exercise sheet on our resources page. The link is in the show notes below. Travel safely!